you got to listen to yourself. Like
Yeah.
number one, you got to trust yourself. And it's not always the easiest road. It sometimes takes twice as long doing it that way, but the reward is worth it.
They were the king and queen of country music. A power couple whose love story felt as perfect as one of their chart-topping hits. Blake Shelton and Miranda Lambert were on top of the world with sold-out arenas, armfuls of awards, and a romance that fans absolutely adored. But behind the blinding camera flashes and red carpet smiles, a story was unfolding that would leave the country music world stunned and change both of their lives forever. So, what really happened to country's golden couple? And what led to the devastating split that Miranda herself would later call the death of something? To really get the heartbreak, you first have to understand the fairy tale. Their story kicked off in 2005, in a moment that felt like it was pulled straight from a country song. The two were paired up for a duet of You're the Reason God Made Oklahoma for a CMT special, and the chemistry was instant and undeniable. The only problem? Blake was married at the time. Both later admitted that major sparks flew during that performance. As Blake put it, I was a married guy, you know? I was falling in love with her right there on stage. A year later, after Shelton's divorce was final, they officially started dating. For the next few years, they became the sweethearts of Nashville. They were two rising stars, navigating the crazy music industry together, supporting each other's music and building a life that seemed totally idyllic. In 2010, Blake proposed in the woods near their Oklahoma home, and in May 2011, they tied the knot at a ranch in Texas, even serving their guests venison they'd hunted themselves. It was rustic, it was real, and it was everything fans loved about them. Miranda gushed to the press, I'm married to my best friend, looking forward to a lifetime of laughter. Right as they got married, their careers just exploded. Lambert was racking up Grammy and CMA awards, while Shelton's fame went into overdrive when he became a coach on the new hit show, The Voice. They were on top of the world, a true country dynasty. But the very things that launched them into superstardom also started to pull them apart. The demands of their careers were insane. They were two of the biggest names in the business. And they were often in different cities on different tours, for months at a time. The distance was a huge battle. An even bigger strain, though, was the intense, suffocating glare of the public eye. When Blake joined The Voice in 2011, he wasn't just a country star anymore. He was a mainstream TV personality, beamed into millions of homes every week. That level of fame was a completely different beast, and it brought a relentless wave of tabloid drama with it. For Miranda, who has always been a pretty private and protective person, this new reality was jarring. She later called The Constant paparazzi presence a shock to my system, saying she just wasn't prepared for it. Well, I don't think anybody is, she added. And it's not nice sometimes. Every week it seemed like a new magazine cover would pop up with some sensational headline, fueling rumors of trouble in paradise. The pressure was immense and created a toxic environment for a relationship already being tested by distance. Lambert has talked about how the constant scrutiny made her put up a wall. She said her only way to be honest was through her songwriting, because she was never going to air her personal life out on social media or in interviews. On July 20th, 2015, the country music world was floored. Blake and Miranda released a joint statement announcing their divorce. It read, "This is not the future we envisioned. And it is with heavy hearts that we move forward separately. We are real people, with real lives, with real families, friends and colleagues. Therefore, we kindly ask for privacy and compassion concerning this very personal matter." The news was a shock to fans who had just seen them on red carpets looking happy months earlier. The divorce was filed by Blake and finalized with stunning speed. Reportedly because a prenuptial agreement streamlined the whole process. For fans, it was the end of an era. For Miranda, it was a deep and personal devastation. Years later, looking back on that time, she would describe the experience in the most gut-wrenching way, calling it horrible, like the death of something. That one phrase captured the true depth of her loss. It wasn't just a breakup. It was the end of a dream, a future, and a part of herself fall while the world watched, commented, and speculated. She admitted she wasn't ready for the tabloid frenzy that followed, a storm of rumors and accusations that played out on a public stage while she was just trying to grieve a very private loss in the aftermath of the split. Miranda Lambert did what she has always done. She turned her pain into music, while Blake quickly moved into a very public relationship with his Voice co-star Gwen Stefani. Miranda retreated from the spotlight. She poured her heartache, her anger, and her confusion into her work. The result was the incredible 2016 double album, The Weight of These Wings. The album, split into two parts called The Nerve and the Heart, was a raw, unflinching look at her life during and after the divorce. It was her side of the story, told not in headlines but in lyrics. Songs like Vice talk about turning to bad habits for comfort, with lyrics like "Another vice, another town where my reputation don't precede me." In the heartbreaking ballad Tin Man, she sings to the famous character from The Wizard of Oz, telling him, "You ain't missing nothing. If you ever felt one breaking, you'd never want a heart." Fans and critics immediately recognized the album as a masterpiece of vulnerability. She was laying her broken heart bare for everyone to hear in one song, Things That Break. She seems to take on some of the blame herself, singing, "I'm hard on things that matter. Hold a heart so tight, it shatters." And in Keeper of the Flame, she reclaims her own story, positioning herself not as a victim, but as the teller of the story. Miranda later said of the album, "If you want to hear my side of the story or my opinion of what happened, it's all on there. There's no mystery anymore. Take from it what you will." It was a powerful statement. She wouldn't talk about it, but she would sing about it. And her music made it clear that the songs themselves were her medicine. The years after the divorce were a journey of healing and rediscovery for Miranda. She admitted that the whole public ordeal gave her PTSD of being on magazine covers for things that weren't true and made her way more guarded. She had to figure out how to navigate the world as a single woman whose every move was being watched then. In November 2018, her life took a wonderful, unexpected turn. She was in New York City to perform on Good Morning America with her band, Pistol Annies, when her bandmates spotted an NYPD officer working security. Behind her back, they played matchmaker and invited him to their show. That officer was Brendan McLaughlin. Their romance was a total whirlwind. They dated quietly, and just 3 months later, in January 2019, they got married. Lambert kept the marriage a secret for weeks, determined to protect this new, happy chapter of her life. She explained, "I was married before, and it was a huge wedding, and everything was very public. So was my divorce. I learned then that it's not for everybody else. This is my actual life. With Brendan, I made it a point to keep it as private as I could for as long as I could." Her relationship with Brendan was completely different. He was an extrovert who was totally unfazed by the spotlight, which helped her finally let her guard down. He eventually retired from the NYPD and now joins her on the road, a supportive partner who has even shown up in her music videos. Miranda has called him the reason for her new smile lines and has happily embraced her role as a stepmom to his son from a previous relationship. This journey from a devastating public tragedy to a quiet, personal happiness has been incredible to watch. It's a powerful story of resilience and the magic of turning pain into art. What do you think is Miranda Lambert's most powerful song about heartbreak? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. And if you liked our story, make sure to hit that like button and subscribe for more deep dives into your favorite country stars. The tragedy of Miranda Lambert's public divorce left fans heartbroken because it felt like the end of a modern country fairy tale. Here was a couple that seemed to have it all, only to watch it crumble under the crushing weight of fame. But the real story isn't just about the heartbreak. It's about what came next. Miranda took what she called the death of something and transformed it into the weight of these wings. one of the most celebrated albums of her career, connecting with fans on a level of raw, unfiltered honesty. She found a way to heal, not by erasing the past, but by channeling it into her craft. She learned how to protect her own peace, found a new kind of love far away from the Nashville spotlight, and settled into a chapter of her life that isn't defined by tabloid headlines, but by genuine happiness. The tragedy didn't break her. It forged her into the artist and the woman she is today, true keeper of the flame, telling her own story, in her own words.